Good day, everyone, and welcome to the Tech ChitChat Show. My name is Ken. You can find me on Northern Viking every day and Northern Viking Explorer on YouTube. I'm here with my co-host Stephen Loney on YouTube and 8-Bit Warrior on Twitter. Hello, Stephen.
Good morning, Ken.
How are you today?
I'm doing okay. How about yourself?
Good. I'm doing pretty good. I just got my coffee. I'm not going to tell you which number it is of the day. And I filled it right up to the rim because we're going to be talking about 7 bad habits that are destroying your PC.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I already sipped off the first centimeter or so, or half an inch.
Is that a safety precaution?
That is. I'm going to hold it right over my keyboard right now.
Cheers. Yeah.
Dribble all over my keyboard.
Very relevant to today's topic.
Yes. Yeah. Other than that, you're doing well?
Doing okay, yeah. I've got some things going on, renovations in the house still, and today I'm filming from a slightly different angle, did some shifting and things and moving around it. So
it looks good. Yeah. You look very...
I look good, thank you.
Spiffy.
You look spiffy too this morning.
Oh, thank you. Thank you. And of course, it's the usual garbage day here, so we might be interrupted by the garbage truck and the recycling truck, as a matter of fact. Yeah.
Exciting.
So, yeah. But... So today we are going to be chatting about 7 habits that are destroying your PC. And we're going to dive right into this. So 7 habits that are destroying your PC. I'm going to bring up this article, and we're kind of going to follow through this article on PCMag.com, and it's talking about the 7 habits again that are destroying your PC, and we're going to add our perspective to a lot of this article. If you are interested in this article, we'll have it linked in the description for you so you can check it out.
Mm-hmm. But, yeah, feel free to open it up and follow along with us as we use it as a reference today.
For sure. So it is there in the description. So Stephen, let's just start out by how is your PC running?
My PC is actually running pretty well.
Yeah.
Considering how old it is.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's generally, I think, fine at this point.
Well, that's good. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And there's some here. Some of the points on this article we'll see are relevant to me because especially the age of my computer. Whereas yours, you have a new build, so
my new build runs good. I don't have any problems with it. My old PC, some of this stuff applies to it. There's really some of the fans are really loud and I think full of dust and different things like that. So we'll get into all of that here shortly. We may as well actually just dive right into it. So the first thing on this article that it talks about is overheating and dealing with overheating problems. So let me pull that back up as I just closed it. So it says disregarding overheating problems. So kind of ignoring overheating problems, different things like that. Now, interestingly enough, you put me onto a piece of software called OCCT, I believe.
Yeah, well, there's 2. So OCCT is one, but what it uses under the hood is another program called HW Info. It might stand for hardware info, but yeah, another one called HW Info, which gives you like a report of like tons of the processor temperatures, GPU temperature, RAM temperatures, and just the diagnostics of like your PC, like tons of the sensors and like a report print out. Really, so OCCT uses hardware info under HW Info under the hood to do all this reporting. And it's great. What you're showing there, you're getting a list out of all the temperatures of all your processors.
Yeah, so this is OCCT, and when we're talking about temperatures on your PC, I wasn't planning on popping this up here, but this is a free piece of software, or you can have pay, I think, for more features and support them.
Yeah.
But talking about temperatures, over here on the right-hand side, you can see all your core temperatures. So I have a Ryzen 7 5800X. In my PC, you can see all the core temperatures. I'm kind of running somewhere on average here between maybe low 40s to 50 currently, 55 on the temperatures on there. And you can run benchmarks and different things in here as well. So
Yeah.
It's
And that's
definitely a useful tool for tracking your temperatures.
and that's a good point. It's good to do a benchmark, even if it's a light benchmark, to just make sure that the temperatures aren't spiking once under load, that they're not like throttling, as this article mentions from PC Magazine, is that because if your processor temperature is maxing out and throttling, it's going to drop the speed of your processor to accommodate for the high temperature. It's going to try to keep your processor alive, so it's going to start dropping the frequencies and slowing down the computer. So if you are hitting high temperatures, you may not be getting the full performance out of your processor, which would naturally slow things down. And it could also be shortening the lifespan of the device because it's just putting under more heat, more strain. It's just not going to help things. I mean, you could have a terribly throttling processor under heat strain for years, possibly. It doesn't mean it won't kill. I mean, you could have a bad scenario that just keeps working, but it doesn't mean that you should. It just may increase the risk of something going wrong. But this is just a great tool to validate that stuff is within a good range.
For sure. And I mean, I'm using fairly low resources right now. If I'm gaming, this will probably jump up. I know these Ryzen 7 5800Xs run on the hotter side, but on gaming, probably I've kind of been watching it lately about 75 to 80 degrees for myself. Your CPU is going to be, if it's different, will vary. Exporting videos kind of in that range as well. So it's definitely something you can just keep an eye on, and you just open this up. So it's a great option.
I'll note if your PC is like, if you're running like a modern, like say i3 or something, temperatures aren't really going to be often an issue because, especially temperature is more an issue like your class of processor. Mine's an older one, so it runs hotter and bigger and beefier. If you just have like a normal like business PC with an i3 or even an i5, usually they run well. Pretty cool these days. But if you're running a laptop, though, you can still have overheating issues. Again, if you're putting your PC or laptop in a bad place, like in a closet with like no breathing room and it's just stale air, you can get like a hot pocket. Or if your case has absolutely no exit plan for air, it can build up heat. So even the lower end devices could still build up pockets of heat and still be bad. If you have
So the other thing that happens is if your PC, and this article talks about this, is if your PC is running hot, it can throttle down your PC.
Yeah, so that's what I was mentioning earlier. It'll actually lower the speed of your processor. Yeah, because it's trying to meet,
potentially even shut it off if it's a big enough heat problem. So,
that's correct.
Yeah, so that's definitely something to think about. Now we were chatting about fans yesterday and CPU coolers. I think I was counting. Did I say I had 10 fans in my PC?
Technically, yeah.
Technically, plus whatever fans are in the power supply, including the chipset fan on the motherboard. Yeah. But fans are definitely helpful. If you don't have enough air movement, it's going to stay warm.
Yeah, and also, but if you could technically have 10 fans inside your computer, and still be bad.
Well, then you can't get out.
Yeah, he's like, I got 10 fans, and they're all just like pushing each other back into,
Another problem, you asked me yesterday, are your fans in the correct direction?
and you weren't 100% sure, were you?
I'm like, I'm pretty sure. And I have to
look. It's like, that's something I've wrestled with. It's like, I think the air's going this way, and because you could have all these fans, but they're like actually just competing against each other and trying to put air inside the case, and nothing gets out. So you just want to be mindful of that.
Well, and even you can look at different CPU coolers. Maybe your processor came with a cooler, and you could put it on something beefier or that sort of thing as well to help keep your temperatures down.
So with my computer is a chipset from 2011, 2012. It's an i7, 6-core, 12-thread. It runs hot because of the generation of it. I was using the stock cooler with it. And after checking using hardware info, HW info, and OCCT, and doing benchmarks, I found it was with the cooler I had was just going way too hot. And so
Okay.
I did get a, I thought it should have been fine, but I was able to validate, nope, this is seeming too hot. I put a different cooler on there greatly. That mixed with a new case that had a better airflow, way better temperature, was able to overclock it stable. Now it runs stable at a reasonable overclock. And so I personally found it, just doing that process of checking hardware info, making sure air is going clear, make sure the right cooler made a difference in my case. So.
For sure. And if you know what cooler you're using, write that in the comments below. We'd love to hear about that. I'm using the Cooler Master Hyper 212 Black Edition, which is an air cooler. Do you know, you're using something similar, aren't you, Stephen?
Yeah, I think I'm using just like one of the more original
Black Edition?
Like one of the OG, because mine's from like, my cooler I think was intended for the first generation i3, i5, i7s.
Okay.
So however old that is, and then you just have a more modern version of that, I believe.
Yeah. And I did actually add, you can buy it with, you can buy more fans for it. So I did actually add a second fan to it. So one going in and one coming out to it. So, and they're just their kind of generic Cooler Master fan that works right on there.
That's a good point. I could do that too on mine. I haven't done that. Maybe I should. Anyways, I'm just thinking.
Yeah, they're pretty cheap. Like I think the, I've seen them on sale as low under $10 even for the fans, but I think they're kind of typically run between $10 and $20 for the fans. So it's pretty cheap to add on to there. All right, why don't we move on to the next one, which is whoa, taking your coffee over your keyboard.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I know.
Letting dirt and dust and liquids run wild over your PC. Funny enough, okay, so my problem here at my desk is I bring a coffee to my desk and I put it down here. And then I sit down in my chair and I scoot in under my table and the arm on my chair hits the desk and sloshes my coffee everywhere, which happened yesterday to me. And it's like maybe an inch away from my tablet that's down there. And I had made a big mess yesterday. So it was kind of funny. This was before we even discussed doing this, what we were going to talk about today.
Right.
So it was kind of funny. My big mess, it poured all over the floor, kind of under the keyboard. But I do have a coaster. I keep it on to keep everything safe.
Oh, good. You know, it's not an actual
coaster is?
Yeah, Super Mario Brothers.
It's like a cardboard coaster. But yeah, I got a whole set of these actually. There's all like Excite Bike and Zelda, and I'm on the second one now. The first one is long gone in the garbage from spilling on it too much. So that shows you how much I spill here.
Is that our sponsor spot this morning?
Sponsored by
Cardboard coasters from Nintendo.
Cardboard coasters. Yeah, so dirt, dust, keyboards, cookies over your keyboard.
Yes.
Steven?
Very, very valid concern. And was a concern this morning as I was trying to set up my camera and I was hovering over my coffee with the... So... and I have a family member here who recently spilled coffee on their keyboard and it wrecked it. They tried to save it and like it was a nicer keyboard and it killed it. And I recently spilled also this past week a cup of hot steamed milk. And it was okay. I managed to, funny enough, it was close to like getting onto my Commodore 64. That was my concern.
You would have been more upset about that than your actual PC.
It's a fine line. And I was just like, so I moved my Commodore to a more safer spot until I have a better home for it. I was like, that's, yeah.
Yoshi's all worried for us here that we're...
It's okay, Yoshi. It's okay.
Yoshi, I'm sure, does not eat at his computer. He goes right to the dining room table and sits there properly. Is that correct, Yoshi?
He's a gentleman. He knows how to take care of his
eating
computer.
at your computer. So, anyway, yeah. I mean, honestly, at least a keyboard like this is replaceable. If you're using a laptop, it becomes more of a problem.
Yeah.
Now, one of the things though I've used in the past, it's like almost like silly putty or slime meant for electronics, and that's worked well for taking dust and stuff out of the cracks.
Oh, okay.
I've used compressed air.
Yeah.
Works good. And, funny enough, where I buy compressed air? It's like 10, 12 bucks everywhere else if you go to the big electronic stores. The dollar store here sells it for $4.
Right.
So that's where I buy it from. It's probably like not compressed air. It's probably compressed
Just air.
coffee.
Some guy's just blowing in the back. Let's go. No,
It seems to work pretty good.
Well, that's what I want to know is what's the quality of compressed air from the big store to the...
Well, is there? I don't think there can be a quality difference. Is there?
I think on your other channel you should do a test. I think you should buy a reputable compressed air can from a big box store. Go to the dollar store and do a test.
Well, how am I going to tell the difference?
Just a
Like how it tastes? No, do not squirt compressed air in your mouth. Do not do that. Like the pressure on my hand, that stuff's freezing. Like,
Welcome to Northern Viking Every Day. We're going to do a taste test of compressed air from the dollar store.
do not do that. Warning. We don't want you doing that. Yoshi. Oh, thank you, Yoshi. I eat near my PC. Just be careful.
Yeah.
The worst is like soup next to your keyboard. If you're like soup and like toast with crumbs. That's
Yes.
a bad one too.
Indeed.
So, so keeping that away, we're saying do not keep food and liquid near your keyboard. And yet we all do that. So
Yeah. And this article says not to use Windex on your screen. But
yeah, you know what? I
never-
don't think you're supposed to. Going through with all the world sicknesses and stuff right now, at my previous job, they wouldn't let us use chemicals on the screen. They had wipes that were designed for your screen.
right.
And the interesting thing is so they wouldn't wreck all the laptops. They bought a whole bunch of cheap keyboards that they used, so we could actually wipe them down. So
Okay.
like if you buy $20 keyboards, rather than squirting down the laptop with chemicals, we bought cheap keyboards so we could wipe them down even if they kind of
Right.
only lasted a year.
Yeah.
So that's something kind of to think about as well.
Mm-hmm.
Which works really well. You just, especially if it's a USB one or even a wireless one, you can buy cheap ones on Black Friday or if there's a sale. All right. Handling your laptop carelessly. Now, let's just not say laptop only. Let's call it PC carelessly because you saw a guy, didn't you, take his desktop PC to the coffee shop?
Yeah, okay. And so Tim Horton, I was at Tim Hortons. To those who know what Tim Hortons is, it's not unusual to go to a Starbucks and to see somebody with a laptop all the time. To see somebody with a laptop at Tim Hortons, not too often, but it happens. To see somebody with their whole desktop PC at a Tim Hortons, at a small table with the whole desktop there and a monitor set up, working, not normal. It was really neat to see. But anyway, so
I just want to see you with a Commodore 64 at Tim Hortons.
and like the CRT monitor hookup.
Yeah,
and
you come in with your suitcase, set it up.
You may have just given me a life goal there. That might be on my list of things to do.
So let's kind of get into this because handling your electronics carefully. I have a old laptop that my wife uses right now that has kind of a chip out of the corner on it, so it's clearly been dropped.
Yeah.
I've had some laptops with cracks and different things on them.
Right.
You can definitely mitigate this if you have a bag that has padding in it. Don't lift it up by the screen.
Yes.
So a lot of people, this is an old laptop, but like
What's the matter?
Yeah. Why is this? Why is the hinge detaching? Things like that. So
Yeah.
it's what are your thoughts? Is there any safety tips for handling your laptop?
Well, first off, I think the big one from this article that's mentioned, and I agree, is especially if your laptop has a standard hard drive in it, so not an SSD or NVMe, but it's using a standard platter spinning hard drive. Yeah. Do not just be more gentle with your laptop because they are more prone to corruption. There's a story of, was it Amazon or something, and they were moving their data hard drive stuff from one building to another, and they used a shopping cart through the parking lot. And by the time they moved it over, they found that maybe 20 to 30% of the hard drives had corruption because of just moving the hard drives over through a shopping cart to the parking lot because of the vibration. So, and I'm assuming maybe laptop hard drives are maybe more spec'd maybe for that kind of thing. I wouldn't assume that. So especially if you have a standard hard drive in your device, it's going to be more prone to corruption from vibration. Of course, with an SSD and NVMe, that's not the same concern. But that's the main thing to consider. One thing that I had happen with the laptop years ago is I used it outside in the direct sunlight. I had it on my lap and it got really, really hot. It was like, I don't know, it was like high 30 degrees Canadian Celsius or whatever, and like maybe 90s Fahrenheit or something. Yeah. And I was sitting in the sunlight and I used it and closed it and went home, and the next time it never started up again. So I think the direct sunlight of the hot killed that laptop. So just be mindful of those things and not assuming that it's fine.
I've had that with temperature before. I've had it with actually on the other end of things, and it wasn't a laptop, but it was a camera, and it was like minus 15 out, and we were out walking around, and I had the camera, and it wouldn't turn on because it was so cold. And then actually, and I can't say for sure this was the case, but I had a GoPro last summer. It was extremely hot here, and I'd had it out in the sun, and then it wouldn't turn on. It was thankfully covered under warranty. Yeah. But I can't say for sure if it was the heat, but it had been in my bag in the trunk all day in a hot car, so it's possible that it overheated. That
seems similar to what happened to my laptop. It just seems that extreme temperature can be a factor both ways. And so just be mindful of that. Like if you have a really hot day, maybe don't leave it out on a table in the sun just baking there. It could kill it.
Yeah.
So
unless you're trying to kill it.
Unless you're trying to kill it. Yeah, okay, sure.
So I think the law of handling your laptop carelessly can be used for pretty much any electronics.
And including children and things like that. General things in life, handle them carefully.
Interestingly, keep talking there, Stephen. I want to bring something up. Not that you have anything to say.
Nope.
Here, I'll bring this up. I got it. So GoPro just released this battery, where I know this isn't PC, but it's actually their high temperature battery. So it's called the Enduro battery for the... And it boosts winter activities, extending your recording times up to 40%.
Oh,
so
actually.
It's called Enduro revolutionary technology. So dramatically improves cold weather performance in temperatures down to 14 degrees Fahrenheit or minus 10.
Okay.
So clearly this has been an issue in technology, and it's kind of interesting that they released that. And that's probably just in the last couple of months. So
right. No, that is interesting. So are we going to see like handheld devices in the future from like Nintendo being like, the new Switch has a minus 40 battery? Like
laid it out in the snow.
Yeah.
Built for the chairlift.
Oh, the Norwegians are going to love it. Like, I don't know. I don't think the Japanese designers have that in mind, to be honest. But, maybe they do. They got some colder places out there, so maybe they know, maybe they care.
Yeah. You can play it in Winnipeg. Winterpeg.
Or Cody can play in Edmonton. Shout out to Cody if you're out there watching.
Shout out to Cody, yeah. If you're out there, Cody, what's the temperature there in Edmonton? You can type that in the comments.
It's cold, Ken.
It's cold.
It's cold.
So the next one is mismanaging your old batteries, which is kind of interesting as well.
Yeah.
So the article talks about it's okay to just use part of the battery and recharge it. You don't need to take it down to empty and then recharge it.
Right.
So Cody's saying it's 0. So
That's surprising.
that's surprising, Cody.
So the one day he was like, it's 3 degrees today, and the next day it was like, it's minus 30 today, kind of like in like Celsius. And it was like, so today it's 0. What would that be that in Fahrenheit? I don't know, but it's cold, but that's warm for Edmonton. So.
That's freezing. Whatever freezing is, 32
Yeah.
or whatever.
Yeah.
So, mismanaging your old battery. So this is kind of interesting because they're saying that you don't need to take your laptop down to 0 and then charge it up. It's actually bad for your battery to do that all the time. It's better to plug it in all the time. Now, I remember one of my first jobs back in the day was working at a cell phone store, and I think it was the nickel cadmium batteries. Everybody's gonna yell at me if I said that wrong or said the wrong battery. But those ones I think were best if you discharge them pretty much fully and then charge them up.
Okay.
There was a life, like the life would be shortened. So you wanted to not keep it, use it 10% and then charge it. It actually ruined the battery life. So
Right.
that was something on older cell phones. I think the technology has changed quite a bit because the batteries in the last couple of laptops we've bought have been significantly better than older batteries we've had. The other laptop we have is 5 years old and the battery's still excellent in it. And this laptop is probably 10 years old.
Yeah.
And the battery like fully died after 5 years. Although this battery comes off really easy.
So you can at least replace it. But you have to have
Yeah.
that. You have to have that plugged in to use it, right?
I do have to have this plugged in to use it.
Yeah.
It was kind of a high-end laptop for the day, so I'm still running Windows 10 on it, even though it's 10 or 12 years old. But
Yeah. It's probably maybe the same age as my PC, to be honest. But mine don't have a battery.
but yeah, so that's one interesting thing. The other thing is I noticed. So at my former work, there was a gaming laptop there that we used for editing, and it actually had a setting on it. I can't remember what brand the laptop was, but it would you'd set the setting and it would never charge to 100%.
Oh, okay.
So it would only ever charge up to, I think, like 80%. And that was supposed to, because we kept it plugged in, and that would help keep the battery life going for a long time as well.
Right.
And so
See, that's what I've heard.
Your computer might have a setting in it for power management.
That's what I've heard conflicting is just it feels like kind of like the schoolyard rumors with battery tech. It's like my uncle who works at the camera or battery company says this or that. It's kind of like these ongoing mythologies of the best battery practices, and I don't know what's right or true. Mm-hmm. And then you'll go into a forum and see people talking and being like, this is what you should do. And then someone will be like, well, actually, I work at a battery factory or something. And they're like, this is what you should do. And it's like, I don't know what the truth is out there. So, yeah.
Well, there's so many different types of batteries. So I think that's where the misinformation is coming from. Everybody has different types of batteries, and we're not talking about the same type of battery. I know some of the new cars, the electric cars, are even covering the batteries, say, to 160,000 kilometers. The battery warranty is on it. So
right.
That, if they're putting that long of warranties on some of the batteries, they have to be a better quality battery than the one I picked up at the dollar store. It's already dead when I take it out of the package.
Along with your compressed dollar store air.
The compressed air at the dollar store is better than the batteries at the dollar store. I will say that.
What about the cereal?
The cereal, well,
I don't recommend it.
Yeah. I'm not sure. I haven't bought cereal there. I wish I had some cereal now so that I could eat over my keyboard. So yeah, batteries. Anything else you wanted to say about batteries?
Yeah, the one thing that they mention here too is like if you find that you have a phone or some portable device and the battery begins to bulge, do get rid of it. Don't. I've had some older devices, like I think an old PSP I had, and I found it, and like you could see on the plastic it was bulging out where the battery pack was, and it's like, yeah, that should go. If your battery begins to bulge, don't try to push it back in and be like, this is fine.
or leaky batteries.
Yeah. Don't try to save a bad battery. Go replace it. Yeah. So that's it.
I had a car battery once, so I had to replace my car battery. And here in Canada, anyway, they charge you a core fee, and then you take your old battery back, and they give you that back. It's kind of like a deposit on the battery. It was either $10 or $20. So I took my old battery, put it on the floor on the passenger side, and drove it to, I think it was Canadian Tire or whatever. And the next day, there was like, clearly the battery was leaking because the battery acid had eaten holes in my carpet on the floor of my car. So, careful with leaky batteries.
It's a good test.
Yeah. So.
Did you buy it from the dollar store?
No, my car battery from the dollar store. No. Hey, Dollarama here in Canada is pretty good. You can get some pretty good stuff in there. If you want it, yeah. Anyway. Electrical safety. We all have cords that you can see the wires through, that you wrap up with electrical tape.
That's what electrical tape is for.
Yeah.
So it's fine.
I would agree.
It's fine.
We all have one of these cables, or a few of them.
Yeah, it looks very familiar.
And it's probably not the best for it.
Nope.
What are your thoughts here? This is a pretty quick one.
Yeah, so if you see this happening, probably throw it out. And you could be like, hey, it's just a USB 2, USB 3. It's a low power current, But if I recall correctly, the newer standards of like USB 3.2.B, whatever it is, and that stuff is beginning to actually allow for a higher current. So maybe don't keep assuming that a low voltage is fine from these things.
Well, and some of the laptops now are being charged by USB Type-C cables and things, so they're exactly more powerful. Or they'll be like ultra PD charger or whatever, and it charges your phone in an hour and that kind of stuff. So they're definitely more powerful than they used to be. Replace your cables if they're bad.
And on top of that too, if the cable's actually getting shoddy and not getting a proper signal, you don't know if it's going to be causing damage to the device it's attached to. Mm-hmm. So you're just not doing good. Like you may find out like my device isn't charging properly. It's switching in and out of high. When you charge your phone, it goes to like the high charging rate, and then it might go like it can't do it, and then it's struggling to find. Anyway, and there was a case with with our friend Cody. I was helping him diagnose his PC once and trying to find out why his computer was crashing suddenly. We couldn't figure it out. And suddenly, between us, we had this idea of, let's just change out the power cable to the PC. That standard power PC cable. That's not the problem, but let's just change it. And sure enough, the crashing went away after we changed the power cable. No visible damage to the cable. Looked fine, but it was the cable itself that was causing the PC to crash.
Yeah.
So
was the cable from the dollar store?
You know what? It's one of those cables where you don't know where it came from.
Oh, box. We all have the box.
The box. The box. With the cables. I have one that like this looks pretty old. It could be 20 to 30 years old, but it still works. So but even because what's weird about it is the PC would run and then just die. Okay. And you're thinking, is it a memory issue? Is it overheating issue? No, it was literally the power cable. It would just And so even power cables and stuff can be at fault, and it can cause diagnosing problems. Just make sure your cables are good. And if you have an old 30-year-old power PC cable you're just keeping, maybe change it out if you're getting weird glitches and crashing and stuff like that. Because in our case, we found that to be the issue. So
Yeah. And they're cheap. You can run down to your
exactly.
local
It's
store
one of the
and-
cheapest things you can change to make sure that things are running fine.
Yeah.
So
And if you're trying to diagnose, you can always borrow a cable from someone else from their
Yeah.
PC and try it out to see if that fixes your problem.
And other thing this article mentioned is like having a proper surge protector and stuff in your PCs. I do know years ago we had an electrical storm, and we did get a surge of power through our power grid. And in our house, I could hear like this awful grinding noise, like power sounding, and it sounded really bad. And it was a surge of power, and our PC's power supply died, and I believe quite a few other people had blown power supplies in their computers.
Yeah.
So that's another thing.
So
to
that's
consider.
back on the disregarding electrical safety.
Oh yeah. That goes back to that one.
We kind of jumped over that. But they also sell. Okay, we're gonna move back. We all know we need to check our cables. Electrical safety. They also sell those battery backup. It's like a surge protector, but it also has a battery that you're
Right.
able to get half an hour of
Right.
time out of, so you can shut down and save. So that's something to think
The
about.
UPS,
Yeah,
uninterruptible
the
power
UPS.
supply. Yeah,
Uninterruptible power supply.
that's
yes.
right.
The other thing, now I'm going to jump all over the place, and there's no
There's no saving it.
there's no saving it now. Disregarding overheating problems. We're back on number 1.
What?
I was thinking about
It's gonna be a long episode.
one thing it was saying in this article too that we all do if we have a laptop is you are sitting under a blanket and you have your laptop on a blanket, and the fans on a laptop are commonly on the bottom, so they'll like pump the heat
Yeah.
right into the blanket, and your laptop will get really hard. So it's, if you have the opportunity,
Your
they sell
blanket will
those
get really hard.
hot.
There we go.
Whatever. And like you get those little tables that are lap hard tables, like they're a
Yeah.
table, you can use those or something like that. So
Yeah.
yeah. So that was back to number 1. So number 2. No. All right. Are we done with cables and
Yeah,
electrical
it's
safety?
something to mention, but I can't remember. So we'll carry on.
Okay, we're just jumping all over the place, so it's okay if we come back to it. The last one on our list is browsing the web unprotected,
Yes.
or not using any type of antivirus.
Yeah.
So Windows now actually has a pretty good antivirus built in, and it's gotten better over the years. That is currently what I'm using.
Yeah.
What are you using, or are you using any other software?
I currently also only use Windows Defender, with the assumption that I may be getting some malware and some things in there tracking, and just being real that there's probably some malware in my computer. But as long as it's not like keyloggers and things getting private information,
Yeah.
if they're just snooping on me, okay, that's fine.
Yeah.
I'll get more targeted ads when I don't expect it. It's kind of like, okay, but yeah.
That
But I
being
like.
said, I will occasionally download and run like the spy bot type of programs,
Right.
that search for them just randomly, if I worry about it. But I personally try to stay away from sketchy sites. So
Yeah.
if I had to go to something that was a little sketchier, maybe I'd use my old computer or something like that.
You know what's an idea for that is, if you want if you don't want that real-time protection antivirus stuff, one option you could do is have a throwaway web browser. You have a web browser you only use. So say that you commonly use Chrome, right? Mm-hmm. You could download another web browser like Firefox, and you could use Firefox for all of your what's the term? Use and burn or something. Like you. So say that you need to. So when I was as a game developer, sometimes I would need to like look up some potentially sketchy sites to find information tracking. So say I developed a game, and I was trying to look up for reviews for the game, and it would lead me to some like Russian website that I can't understand the language. So before I click on the search link, I don't know where I'm going to. Yeah. So what I could do is I could download another browser and go into that browser, even like Opera or Opera GX, and go into the incognito mode, go into like the VPN mode, and go and check the site. And if I find that the site was totally sketchy and weird, I'll just uninstall the whole web browser.
Okay.
And then reinstall it. Because I've had people on my computer before, like a young person, they will come on and they'll like Roblox cheats, and then I get like download today popping up in my desktop, and I found that I was able to just delete the web browser and reinstall. So that's another form of protection, is just having a throwaway web browser that you're willing to delete and reinstall quickly if you need that.
Yeah.
So that's what I like to do. But
option is like a virtual desktop.
So
there are ways to run kind of like a virtual second desktop. So if that gets,
say even like a Linux
down.
one or something, you can run a virtual machine for Linux and just use that as your...
a virtual machine, not a virtual desktop. Or so that would be an option as well. Yeah. But so I think just being cognizant of the sites you're going to, it would be important. There's free virus checkers out there. It doesn't hurt to run a second one or even pay for one if you're... And
I like what they recommend on here. They recommend like Malwarebytes, and I don't know how reputable it is at this point. I don't know, I haven't tracked it, but I like how Malwarebytes, they say, it does have you can just do a manual scan, so it doesn't run in the background. You can just do a manual scan, apparently with the free version, and that might be a good thing to do even every couple months or something. So along with Windows Defender, which is usually good enough, then once in a while do a manual scan with another third-party one, and it might be a good idea. Yeah. So I like how we're talking about this, and we jump from like just recommending antivirus to like run a virtual machine with Linux. It's like easy solution. With a virtual machine with Linux with a throwaway web browser, you're fine. You got this covered. Don't use an antivirus.
It's like, what kind of sites are you going to?
I'm just logging into my Gmail. But
so there's definitely a whole list of ways you can protect yourself, from the basics to fully protected. So awesome. So our question of the day, unless you have anything else you want to say and start it over back at number 1. Our question of the day is, do you have your own tips for keeping your PC healthy? Maybe not eating toast over your keyboard or different things like that. We'd love to hear from you. Yeah. And write those tip in the comments below. What's my tip? What's my tip?
Go ahead.
Well, clearly I drink coffee over my keyboard, so that's not the one. I think going back to, if you're using a laptop, trying to keep it like, there's been a lot of, you hear about fires and different things where people leave their laptop charging under their blankets, or I think trying to get air to your device would probably be one of the biggest things. Heat is definitely a killer of your computer, so that would be one of them. And then staying away from sites that you don't know what they are. Trying to avoid them. I think those would be my 2 biggest tips. And so what about yourself? In regards to web browsing, again, I do recommend a throwaway web browser. Do have one, because there are moments where it's like, no, I need to look something up, and I just don't know where it's going to lead me. So, have a throwaway web browser ready. You don't keep any passwords in it. You don't keep any links. It's used only for using and burning when you need to. I recommend that. But on a more practical level, I'm trying to think here. I think that's it. And too, again, if you have any computer with a standard hard drive, be careful with moving computers with a standard hard drive, knowing that vibrations and things and movements could be harmful for that. So if you have a laptop right now with a standard hard drive, don't throw it around. Be careful with it, or upgrade to an SSD and all that. So Awesome.
But yeah.
Awesome. One thing we do want to mention is what happens when we hit 100 subscribers, Stephen. We hit 40.
Yeah, we hit 40. We're getting there.
Yes.
Once we hit 100 subscribers, we are upgrading to 1080p streaming. Currently, we're at 720p, but at 100, go to 1080p. So
Yeah.
that's
If you're
our
watching
target.
this for the first time, make sure to subscribe and like. Also, if you're listening to us on one of the podcatchers out there, thanks for joining us. And
Podcatchers?
Podcatchers.
I like that.
That's the term I hear out there when I listen to podcasts. So
Is it?
It's the, yeah.
Oh, you're
I
not.
don't know.
You're being serious? I never
I
heard
am
that.
being serious. I don't know if it's a real term.
Podcatchers. Apparently, I'm not in the know. Okay, that's
You're
fine.
not in the know. You
No.
don't listen to podcatchers. Apparently, I love this, Yoshi. Healthy PC, feed of veggies. Thank you. We appreciate the comment.
You know what?
Carrots.
I feel I need to eat more veggies. I think that's maybe what's going on here. So a healthy user is a healthy PC. Is that what's going on? Does that help?
Yeah.
What about fruit? Can we
Fruit. Yeah. Awesome. Well, I think that's going to wind down the main part of our show here. We'll stick around and answer some questions after. So thank you so much for watching today. Remember to like and subscribe here on YouTube. And until next time, take care. All right, we're going to stick around for a little bit, and we're going to turn that main part into a video on its own. So we'd love to chat with you guys some more if you have any questions. I know Yoshi's been making eyes at us here for a while. And there's some more. So we appreciate that, Yoshi. Oh, he's got like lots of eyes for us.
I think that one you meant there.
Oh, yeah, that's the first one I did. So, yeah, any other comments or questions, write them in the comment section there, and we'll grab them and throw them up here.
Yeah.
I kind of wouldn't mind chatting, well, if we're waiting for comments, more about the temperature thing. And I know we chatted about this quite a bit at the beginning, was the using like OCCT and different things like that to monitor your temperatures. I like this. So Yoshi's asking, would you sacrifice drinking or other drinks for water to minimize messes?
No.
Like no coffee. No. I'd rather buy a new keyboard, Yoshi. It's just the cost of living, buying a new keyboard every now and then.
What would the tech chit chat be the same with welcome to ChitChat chat where we grab water and talk to each other? I mean, it could be fine.
Come join us for a cup of water. And I mean, I drink water. Well, I try to once in a while. So, but coffee and talking tech seems to go together. So, okay. So, monitoring GPU temperature. How would you go about monitoring your GPU temperature, Stephen?
Hardware info or MSI Afterburner. I use MSI Afterburner. That's a good one just for getting the temps and the and with MSI Afterburner you can also add in the optional add-on to it. I forget the name of it, but it can show like an overlay like information about CPU temps, GPU temps, all within while you're playing a game, so you can see it directly overlaid on top of the game, which is cool.
And is that free software, or do you have to pay for that?
It's free. Yeah, so Yoshi's mentioning that he uses MSI Afterburner. And I can't remember the add-on, what it's called to get that overlay. Yoshi, you might know. But yeah, it's free. MSI puts it out. Even if you don't have an MSI GPU, it still works. Okay. So it's a tool set that you use, you install it, and it allows you to like, if your GPU supports it, to like overclock the GPU or undervolt it or change fan speeds, custom profiles. But it also has a optional tool set for having reporting Yoshi, he doesn't use the overlays. But yeah, there is that option for the overlay that you can. So I just use a second monitor. I'll just throw over and have basic like temperatures and stuff. But you can use the overlay.
So you can change profiles of how the fans spool up then?
Yeah.
Or at what temperatures?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can create a custom curve profile and which is really useful.
Okay.
So,
I haven't done that for my GPU. I played with the curve. So for those of you who don't know, typically in your BIOS you can adjust the curves on your fans, so where they would kick in.
Yeah.
And there's typically like a standard mode or a performance mode or different things like that, and you can adjust them of where the fans are. So going back to temperature, if you're finding your computer is running hot, you might be able to adjust it to like a performance mode where the fans spool up a little faster or a little earlier to help keep that under control. So I wish Task Manager added CPU temperature to the.
Agreed.
Yeah. So that would be great if they would add that right to the Task Manager.
Yeah.
It's definitely, if you build a PC, it's something. I think having bought pre-builts in the past, I never worried about temperature, and having built a PC, I think it's something most people keep a closer eye on. So
for those who build.
Yeah. So I think if you go buy your HP or your Dell laptop, you probably aren't as likely to worry about it. But if you build it, you're always I don't want to say concerned, but you're curious maybe more how your PC is performing. So
yeah, you become more into like the car tuner group. It's kind of like people who are into cars and building, and they care about the tuning of it. Whereas the business guy who just wants the car to look nice and buys it off the lot, he doesn't care.
Yeah,
right.
You can buy your $100,000 Mercedes that doesn't need any tuning, or you can buy, a $30,000 car and soup it up.
Yeah.
So.
No, and it's true. So you can see how your own thinking has shifted and changed on that.
Yeah. So, any other thoughts, Sir Stephen, or not? Yoshi's the only one giving us questions, but he can keep asking us questions. We love drinking coffee. That's why we're here, to sit and drink coffee and.
Yoshi's the unofficial moderator. he's like
Yoshi. We need to talk to you. Maybe you should be our official moderator.
Yeah, Ken and I we're gonna be debating later today, and we need you to moderate. Okay.
So yeah. Well, there was something other in tech that came up that we were going to talk about, was the GPUs that got stolen.
The GPU heist.
The GPU heist. So I want to say back in September or October, there was a whole bunch of GPUs that were stolen from a truck in California.
Right.
And Yoshi, was that you? No.
Yeah, we were accusing Yoshi of doing it, but.
Yeah, no, we know it wasn't you, Yoshi.
Well, we don't know for sure.
Well,
no, it wasn't.
A 1 in a billion chance. Anyway, so all of a sudden these stolen GPUs or graphics cards have been going for sale over in Asia. Was it? I can't remember.
No. It wasn't. I don't know where it was sold, but it was picked up. I'm not sure.
I feel like it was. I thought it said. I don't want to quote a country, but it was like Thailand or somewhere.
No, it was sold from a Vietnamese retailer.
That's what it was. Yes.
Yeah.
So, they were selling these, and people had bought them, and they were trying to register them, and they wouldn't register. And so apparently the Vietnamese retailer didn't know about it. It was higher up the
chain,
the chain of where they got them from. So these stolen GPUs are showing up in the market.
Yeah.
6 months later,
what had happened, according to, I can't remember the article we were referencing. We should have had that, but apparently there was like a guy did register it, and it came up flag because EVGA was flagging codes for registration for that batch of GPUs. So it seems like they were EVGA GPUs, I believe. Yeah. So they may be actually able now to begin to track down who did this. So,
Yeah.
which is interesting. I know we were thinking about maybe talking about that. It's like, hey, here's a follow-up about these stolen. Maybe we'll have an article of some detective like doing some crazy detective work and finding out some gang or something that. Anyways,
Yeah.
maybe they'll make a movie after it in years.
Yoshi's asking, do you think hinges break too easily in laptops? And if there's a way that users can mitigate it, and if manufacturers can do anything about it? Well, I think definitely manufacturers could do something about it by making higher quality products. I struggle with this one because I have a laptop here on my desk that sits on my desk most of the time. I treat my laptop pretty well. So I've never had a hinge break, but one time at work I inherited a laptop that had a broken hinge on it. That was, I think, more from dropping.
Okay.
But you see it all the time. You go to Starbucks or wherever and people have their laptops and they're flinging them around. And like I said, lifting them up by the... Like if you're lifting them up by the screens and doing things like this, it's not it's not going to last a long time. There's so much dust on this laptop. But yeah, I think I think definitely the manufacturers should do their part in making sure they're using metal components rather than plastic ones or different things like that.
I think one thing to be mindful of is if you do open up the hinge, to never be like, whoa, to don't do it quick, where it causes the plastic to flex. I think just always being just courteous to a degree is probably, because as soon as you're doing this, you're probably causing flex in the material. Mm-hmm. And only open it as many times as you need to. Don't be like, don't be fidgety and opening and closing it because you feel like anxious and fidgety. You just want to do something like remove.
Well, everything has a lifespan. Like think about, I don't know how many of you have been to IKEA. They have the chair there and they have the fake person sitting on it. Like it's like a robot that pushes down. Like someone, there's like a counter that shows how many times someone sat on the chair. But everything has a lifespan. Like a hinge might be rated, I don't know what the number is, might be rated at 10,000 opens and closes before it breaks. Or your starter on your car might be good for, 20,000 or whatever it is. That IKEA chair might be good for 200,000 sits. High quality IKEA furniture. But every time you use something, it does put wear and tear on it. So it's definitely something to...
What's that word? What's that scientific word of like entropy or whatever? Everything is eventually everything. Everything wears down.
Everything does wear down.
Without outside influence, everything just...
Well, and you think about a car.
Yeah.
Even if you buy a car and you minimally drive it, so it's kept in pristine condition, when it's 20 years old, even though you may have only driven it a little bit, it's still worn down. The rubber gets old. Components get gummed up because they're not used enough. There's wear and tear even when you don't use something. Hoses will start to deteriorate over time. It's kind of like you have some electronic item that works fine and you put it in a box for 5 years and then you come back and try and use it and it won't turn on.
Yeah.
It's
that's my car.
You put your car in a box for 5 years?
The battery's dead right now. I went out and I need to go. Anyways, that's a different thing. But
yeah, I know a place that sells batteries. It's called the Dollar Store.
No, I'm not taking your advice.
No. So, mismanaging your old battery, Stephen.
Thanks, Ken.
Yeah.
It was cold outside. Okay, maybe that's not the
cold
excuse.
Outside.
I can't use that excuse, but
yeah. Hey, so actually, if we go to, there's a new feature in here, and I want you guys who are still watching to tell us if you like this or not. We can have background music. Do you like the background music? So, yeah. So, Yoshi is a vote for the background music. Cody's yes.
Welcome to the Tech Chit Chat.
Where we talk about tech and drink coffee over our keyboards.
Very dangerously.
It's nondescript to me. So, okay.
That's a big word for us.
Yeah. I need to go get my dictionary. So, yeah. All right. Well, shall we wind it down there, Stephen? That was a lot of fun.
Mm-hmm.
So, we appreciate you all joining us today. We had a lot of fun, and for our after party here as well. Just chatting about stuff.
This is very distracting, this music.
There's all sorts of options. For those of you who are wondering, we use a piece of software called StreamYard for our streams, and it allows us to do all this stuff, and we can answer your comments and pop them up on the screen right here in StreamYard. Not sponsored, but they may be. And we'll end it out with some dance pop music. So anyway, awesome. Thank you everyone for joining us today. Until next time, this has been the Tech Chit Chat Show. Thanks for watching. Take care.